down, smoking high, I am not round. I'm not round, no denying what I got now. Keep an eye out, keep it locked down. Get too strong when I battle with the beast, bring a few on. The commander and the chief for my crew on. Bullets rattling and whistle at your toque. Never sleep, eyes open, hands clutching on my loop. This a war zone. This a war zone. Yo, this a motherfucking war zone. The impact, yeah, break it open, leaving nothing f***ing intact. Hey yo, you been hacked. You're safe, hard in, but I found it, homie, been cracked. Hey yo, we been back. Your band stacking, see you flexing with the thin stack. Hey bitch, you been whacked. I kill them all, feel the motherfucking impact. Yo, this a war zone, homie, say you ready and prepared. Take a minute, make them aware. Well, I be sneaking in the back, but it's what they clap, homie, life ain't fair. Caught me crawling through the mud with a vision, saw it clearly. Born a shepherd to these sheep, make them fear me. This a war zone, trashed out, trap house, nothing ever given. Yeah, every day's a blessing, thank the Lord, oh how I'm living. See me riding with my top down, oh cops round, pedal pressing on the gas. I don't think I'll ever stop.
Yeah. Unknown Brain. Marvin Devine. I'm saying bye to all the lies and all the times you cried, saying that I wasn't right, yet I was right by your side. You manipulator, playing games, your friends commentators, and I don't know what you say about our private conversations, but it's got them hating. Thanks to all the rumors you be claiming. It's cool, I'm done with you, so they can throw you a celebration. You gon' hate it when you see me with somebody living better. I'm trying to tell you that me just doing me gon' have you jealous.
I know that I gotta stay away from all your games, yeah. I know that I found somebody else to love me one day, yeah. You'll realize the grass ain't greener on the other side, no. You did me dirty for the last time, so now I gotta say goodbye. So now I gotta say
Yeah, my life is lovely now, I'm focused on me. You said you were about to die, I guess the car is on E. But see, I ain't even tripping, cause I just chose to believe that somebody gon' come around and give me just what I need. I don't wanna see you frowning, see you looking down and out, coming to me crying, saying you miss having me around. Gave you chances and you blew it, you so easily influenced. All the times you told me beat it, now you gotta face the music. I'm saying
I know that I gotta stay away from all your games, yeah. I know that I
whip it up, you just gotta hand me the rock. Take a seat, you cannot stand it. All I know, the flow harder than a Scotch bunny. Don't try spreading me, you cannot manage. This ain't what you want, bitch, I'm a fucking phenomenon. This ain't what you want, bitch, I'm a fucking phenomenon.
Yeah, you better listen. I'm bringing heat. You'll be a fan when I start rapping. Way I'll have your fucking head spinning. I'm known as spit vicious. Release bombs and go tick tick. Boom, you blow me that head missing. I'm a phenomenon. Stacking cheese like it's Parmesan. 8 different flows, call me Octomom. I'm moving fast like the Autobahn. And I'm independent, so I'm not your fucking starving like it's Ramadan. Sick, twisted, gifted. Can't copy, printed. Can't hold me down. I shape shift, I'm liquid. I killed this beat. I might get convicted. They know how I move. It was predicted. Persistent. Spoken into existence, so consistent, no assistance. Hear me once become addicted. If I rap it, then I live it. There's no cap and I'll be breaking this.
This ain't what you want, bitch, I'm a fucking phenomenon. This ain't what you want, bitch, I'm a fucking phenomenon.
Devil in a red dress, call 911, I'm a killer. You know I hate to confess. Bang bang, got my hand on the trigger. The devil in a red dress, call 911, I'm a killer. You know I hate to confess. Bang bang, got my hand, bang, got my hand, bang, got my hand.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the January 5th. January 5th, the first... Is this the first stream? Oh, no, I think I did it. Yeah, no, this is the first stream. Last stream we did was New Year's Eve. So welcome officially to the first stream of 2022. My name is Neil Bridges. I had to introduce myself in a couple of meetings today, so I did verify that so everybody can rest assured. I know you were all worried. It is indeed Neil Bridges, and thank you for joining me tonight. Welcome to all of our new joiners as well as our regular visitors. Real conversations with real people. That is what you can expect from us. You can catch us here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday right here on the Cybersecurity channel. We really are here to have real conversations with real people. I almost said about real people. We're going to have conversations about real people too. We may talk about some unreal people too, but who knows? We're going to talk a lot about real people and unreal people, and the state of cybersecurity really elevate that conversation to a much broader audience. Check the echo now. I just hit a button. Okay. Random button pushing for the win. See, that's what happens when you talk with your hands. When you talk with your hands, you end up hitting random buttons. Anyway, my quintessential saying, the thing that I always tell everybody here is that you, my friend, everybody who's listening to me right now, you all are not out of your league on this channel. I promise you that. No matter how many years you've been in cybersecurity, no matter how many years, I don't care. No matter your discipline, red team, blue team, risk and governance, former bankers, it does not matter what your discipline is. We are here to discuss the industry impacts of the current landscape and the art of the possible when dealing with today's cybersecurity issues. So, whether you're an experienced veteran, whether you're new to the field, whether you barely know how to spell cyber, or somebody who was born into cyber, this stream right here, this community, is for you. We are here for everybody to participate and learn from this community. Devnol Zen with the pay Maz to fix your audio. I don't want to sound like Maz. With that in mind, we regularly try to have professionals from across the industry. As it is Old Guy Wednesday, let me introduce the long overdue, hasn't been seen in a hot minute. It's been a while. It's been a minute. Welcome back. How's it going?
Good to be back.
Yeah.
It's going
how was
well.
your
It was a nice hiatus?
How was your break?
It was awesome. Just like literally unplugged, got the heck out of Dodge mentally, and just chilled. It was awesome.
Good.
Hung with the family and played a bunch of stupid games.
So I hear you're the newest Rocket League contender in your household.
Oh my gosh, my kids kick my butt.
Are you old enough for the reflexes to be able to do Rocket League, or does that stuff just like, do you get old guy over the Rocket?
So no, the reflexes are fine. It's the fact that I have no feeling in my thumb anymore. Like it's really bad. Like the A, the X, the B. Like it doesn't matter. Like it's like some button over there. So I literally have to look down at the button to make sure my hand is situated right.
So you're the guy on the controller, and you're like looking at the controller when you should be looking at the screen.
It's not that bad because you knew I cut the tip off my finger. They reattached it, but I've got minimal feeling in the tip. So I have to use my knuckle part of my thumb to press the button because that's the part I can feel.
I'm just over here imagining you using.
I know it's a really bad word picture.
Using knuckles on a controller. I'm Jeff. I can't do the controller.
What's the pause button?
All right. So that's gonna be we got to get a video of that next time. I gotta talk to your wife and kids to see if we can't get a video of you playing Rocket League. That's gotta go up on socials. Not happening. Jeff, welcome back to the first Old Guy Wednesday of 2022. Guess what? I know this is going to come as a shocker to you. Well, that's not going to come as a shocker either. That's not going to come as a shocker. We do have moderators in chat, though. That may come as a shocker. We do have moderators in chat. I want to personally thank our moderators each and every stream for their dedication. Super important note about moderators, Jeff. Moderators are here to keep chat free of sexist, racist, misogynistic, elitist, and otherwise toxic behavior. We have zero tolerance for toxicity on this stream, as you could tell. Jeff and I are only allowed to be toxic towards each other. Maybe our guest tonight.
Listen, do they moderate us?
Could you imagine Jeff's been timed out for 300 seconds?
There's a giant red X in the middle of one of our pictures at some point.
Oh yeah, that's happening. We're gonna find a way for audience participation to put a big giant red X over Jeff for Old Guy Wednesday at one point in time. Be like, Jeff. Oh, Jeff's frozen. Oh, did Jeff get canceled? Oh no, there you go. Woo! I thought you got canceled for a second there.
I was self-Xing.
Self-Xing. I trust my moderators explicitly. Their decision is final. If you are put on a timeout or a ban, you appeal to the moderators. You don't appeal to Jeff or I. This is a fantastic time to remind you to get into Discord by hitting that exclamation point Discord. Hopefully Streamlabs continues to work tonight, but you can use exclamation point Discord now to get into our Discord. That is also how you're going to not participate, but also talk to a moderator when it comes to the giveaways. Another note on Discord, and Jeff, you missed some drama in December when we did some giveaways. We had some shady folks. I imagine that a channel about cybersecurity and hackers. We had some shady folks, try to change their name in Discord to claim prizes that they weren't entitled to.
Nice.
So as a result of that, we've now implemented a mandatory thing that everybody's Discord and YouTube have to be linked, has to be verifiable by a moderator when they look at your profile in Discord, that they can see your YouTube name linked with your Discord.
That's pretty weak sauce.
It is. It's pretty unfortunate. I was willing to let it go the first time, but then it happened a second time, and I was like, that's it. That's it. New rules in place. New rules in place. So Discord, super important. Make sure you are in Discord. With that being said, I'll be answering questions on stream. Jeff will be answering questions on stream if you want to ask Jeff any questions. But we do have a special guest tonight. We have a token old guy.
Ask him questions.
The token old guy for tonight, which I'll introduce here in a little bit, will absolutely answer some questions. You'll definitely want to ask him some questions. Chris says, Chris with the super chat says Streamlabs is working. Yes, it is, Chris. Thank you. Thank Jack and Chris for figuring out how to fix Streamlabs. As I said, we'll be answering questions on stream. Our special guests will be answering questions on stream. Your questions are how important to us, Jeff?
Super.
Beyond super. Like if this is normal questions, this is like our desire for your questions. Like it's off the charts. You can't see it. Like we have a huge desire to answer questions. However, we do have only one rule. We do ask that you ask your question only once. I do promise you we've got tons of moderators in chat. I'm super proud of all my moderators. Carmen Mod, is back with us tonight too. So the band hammer is out and in force. And so
band hammer.
The band hammer.
That's a great word picture right there. No.
Oh, we gotta find some.
That's the video that we actually need.
That's the video that we need.
Me playing Rocket League? No. Band hammer? Yes.
If there's ever a GIF or a meme made out of Carmen Mod, we've reached a whole nother level. She's very secretive about her appearances.
Shoot you.
Yeah, she would shoot me. She would also shoot BSEC for making the meme. I'm just saying, like BSEC would die too.
Because she knows that you wouldn't.
Yeah, exactly. Ask your question only once. If you ask it more than once, it may be considered spamming. You might get it as a timeout or a ban. I do promise you, we've got tons of moderators who are looking for your questions. We do try to make sure that even though we jibber jabber a whole lot, we do try to make sure we get as many of them answered as possible on our time on stream together. We do broadcast via YouTube for our regularly scheduled broadcast. You can find videos mostly on the video section over here on YouTube. Bottom line is we continue to expand out our social media presence on all platforms, including TikTok. I had somebody say, Neil have a TikTok? Yes. Does anybody follow Neil on TikTok? Yeah, we've got like 500 people following Neil on TikTok, watching Neil do some TikTok dances.
That is not what they're on there for. Do not flatter yourself.
Wait till I release my cybersecurity version of Cardi B's songs. I'm telling you, it's going to happen as soon as Carmen lets me. Anyway, we are here for you, the community. We do strive to bring you the most intriguing opinions, points of view, and conversations in the cyber industry each and every stream. We appreciate all our followers. We appreciate all of our subscribers. First and foremost, I want to thank all of our veterans for the service and sacrifice, past, present, and future. Thank you so very much. I'd also like to thank our partners in no particular order: Battleship Security, Attack IQ, Net Abstraction, Query.ai, Cyber Supply Drop, VMware, Carbon Black, Odysseys, and At Root Beverages, which I do have down in the fridge. I forgot to bring one up, but I did get my shipment of At Root in. Root is back in stock. They want to give a special. There's some things that are happening, Jeff, with Root. They are super, super loving our community because our community has been one of the largest purchasers of At Root beverages. Hopefully anybody in chat who's purchased At Root is really, really enjoying it. And so they are working through some things to really do something unique for this community. So again, people looking out, for everybody else. So that's going to be pretty awesome. At the end of the day, we ultimately do this for you, the viewers, and none of this is possible without you. And so our biggest thanks goes out to all of you. We have been and we will continue to deliver you content as long as we can. Any and all proceeds earned on the stream go directly to contributing to the quality of the content and the giveaways. That is what we are all about here, is we want to give something back to you all as a community, other than just two old bald guys arguing like the... Didn't somebody equate us to the Muppets one time? Like, we're those two old guys sitting in the balcony.
I think you and I equated us to.
Oh, was that you and I? Okay, I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if we self-appointed that one or not.
It was pretty evident.
It was pretty evident.
When it's that obvious, I think you just got to go with it.
If it is that obvious, I just got to go with it. So let's talk about our guest tonight.
Perfect.
Coming back to 22, right? There's all sorts of things that come to mind from a content perspective, right? When we talk about the first stream of 22, there's like, top 10 security jobs you could have for 22, or top certifications you can look for 22. Like, everybody's on YouTube right now dropping all their top things for 22 all across the board. I think I decided to go a different route with this. I was talking with a good friend of mine that we've done some work with in the past. He's been on the stream here before in the past. If you didn't see him before, he's got a really good personality. We joked with him last time because we found an old picture of him where he was a backup singer for Britney Spears. So make sure everybody, when we introduce him, you do put your high pants together for his former life as a backup singer. But I'm super, super proud to introduce my guest for tonight, Joe Hudson, who is the principal recruiting lead for HuntSource. He's been a national talent advisor for North Highland. He was a fourth grade teacher, and then, of course, as I mentioned, a backup singer for Britney Spears. Joe, this is your second time on the stream, so that means that I didn't abuse you too bad the last time you were here. So I do truly appreciate you coming back. Thank you very much for joining our community and coming back. The floor is yours if you want to introduce yourself a little bit more.
Well, thank you for having me back. I strive to have a good personality. That's what I go for. So thank you for pointing that out. It was a backup dancer, though, not a backup singer. But I will tell you, it worked. I definitely got at least 10 messages over the next month. Like, that's awesome, dude. Like, what was it like? And I swear I thought it was a joke and could tell. Nope, they really believed that. And so a couple of them, I finally just went with it. And I was like, I tore my ACL, and it just wasn't meant to be. But now, but see, look, knock on wood, because I'm the old guy now. I got to knock on wood now. And I mean, I can't tango around with words too loosely here, but no, I appreciate you having me on. I've always, I always enjoy being able to plug in and just watch. And I think I told you the other night that I'm able to have your stuff on and get work done, and actually like absorb things in the background. And, I wonder sometimes, like, how much of my own information that I give to people is really my information. Is it just something that I've sponged up and I've sort of taken the collection of things from other people? But
if they never find out the source, it is your information.
That's right.
Totally fine. Yeah, copyright that. Yep. No, but I think
Pretty sure I came up with it. Yeah.
No, yeah, like, that's totally my idea. Like,
Absolutely.
this is how to fix cybersecurity in 2022. Joe Hudson, the recruiter. I got this down. It's on this paper right here.
So speaking of Joe Hudson, the recruiter, right? Speaking of Joe Hudson, recruiter, I think the last time you came on, you had a lot of really good perspective on what was happening in the cybersecurity industry. I think in a post-COVID world, I think we had you on. I wouldn't say it's been a year, but it's coming up on a year. I think it was like right after you went on Jerry's show last year. What was the biggest? What was kind of the biggest? I didn't see that coming out of 21 from a cybersecurity perspective or from a recruiting perspective that you can think of.
Oh, wow. Well, I would say probably I saw it coming and I also didn't see it coming. The mass boom of look what I can do for you, like these services popping up, these companies popping up. I know recruiters that started up cybersecurity, like consulting firms or MSPs, like no cyber background. The piggy bank nature, I guess, of cyber, I've always expected this to be something that people are going to come out of the woodworks and see the dollar signs. But the amount of money has gone up to the point that I just feel like we're paying so many people too much money. We're investing so much money to protect ourselves from getting breached at a cost of what percentage of our investment. But there's just so many people that are finding success in cyber in ways that are a little unorthodox, and there are so many people doing the right things that are not finding success. And I just think that we're at a boiling point right now, man. It's really tough.
Let me dive into that. Are you saying that you've seen people stand up MSSPs because they couldn't get jobs in cyber, and it was just easier for them just to start an MSP?
Not because they couldn't get a job in cyber. They literally just saw the ability to say, well, I've got the business acumen and I have recruited a few cyber jobs or whatever. And they go out and they start up, the service. I'll see it on LinkedIn and I'll like it. And I'll say, hey, best of luck. Like, I hope that this is good because I want to see literally every single person in cybersecurity be successful unless they're a total prick, but
Jeff,
but
you're screwed.
otherwise,
Jeff, you're screwed.
no, dude, I just like when I see other like recruiting firms or whatever, I see recruiting firms, they're, that never did cyber and now they're building their branch. I'll get some notes every once in a while, like, hey, we're hiring for a recruiting lead. We'd love to come over. And I'm like, thank you very much. And I'm glad to see you guys are in this,
Right.
because we need more hands on deck here. There's not enough resources out here to really cover all the ground, and these companies posting jobs and left and right, and you just Google it. It's just tough to keep up with. So I just see a lot of people from like the recruiting world actually starting to kind of venture into running a security consulting business or something like that.
Is the Great Resignation a thing when you're from the recruiting side, from the talent management side? Like, is the Great Resignation a thing in cybersecurity, or are people not really adhering to that and they're still flocking to cybersecurity jobs?
Oh, I've talked to quite a number of people last year that had maybe thrown in the towel.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's really, it's been a little defeating actually, and something that I was thinking about a lot last night is that you've got some incredible talent for the last 15 to 20 years that have grown their careers. They've gotten to that peak that they wanted to get to, and they're very pivotal people in their organization, and they lost their job during COVID, and they're having a tough time getting calls, and you get some of these incredibly talented people that are out of work for 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. I mean, I know a guy that he's a director for like 5-6 years and he's landscaping now. And he says he likes it. He's like, actually, it's really refreshing, but that was not on his radar, a year ago. And I think he kind of just was like, I'm tired of the game. I'm tired of interviewing 5-6 times and then getting a completely BS response. Like, hey, thanks for your time, but we're going to go in another direction. Like, it's just really defeating after a while to see that,
But I take us back for a second and explain this, right? Because you just said that there's so many job opportunities out there in cybersecurity, but then you've got this example that you're talking about with the director choosing to basically not continue to pursue his career in cybersecurity. Is it starting to get more skewed where on the supply and demand side, there is more demand on the low end of the talent pool than there is on the high end of the talent pool. And because of that, like if you're in senior leadership, like if you're 15 years, 10 years, plus in your career, like your job prospects are much, much harder than say if you're under 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, climb a tree. The branches, there's not nearly as many up top, and there's just less things to get a hold of. But I think, Neil, I mean, if there's anything that I have probably stressed for a couple of years now, and now it legitimately bothers me, is this ridiculous imbalance of the people that are ready to get these jobs and the inability to give these people these jobs. And I say inability, and I mean that word because you can't just snap your fingers and be like, you know what, I'm going to train this person up. I'm going to put away all of my other responsibilities. I'm going to make sure I invest 20 hours in this up-and-comer, even though likely it could pan out. The thing that really bothers me with the imbalance of the amount of talent that's trying to get the jobs, and then these jobs, we keep hearing it all the time. Oh, there's 0% unemployment in security. I hate that phrase more than anything. I just think like we have a lot of people that would argue that point. They're like, I've applied to 1,000 jobs and I've got 6 certs and I've done everything that people have told me. I can't even get a call back. But one of the real problems is the inconsistency of messaging about, hey, you go do these things and we'll give you an opportunity, we'll grow you up. And then the lack of follow through, it's just a consistent thing now. I really feel like we have a big imbalance.
Has the problem shifted in your minds? Is it still HR? Like I know you and I, we did our best trying not to bash directly HR the last time you were on the stream. Everybody knows that I have a hate relationship for most HR organizations and internal recruiters. Yeah. Is it getting worse? Is that what's driving a lot of that problem? Because you're right, 3.3 million jobs, across the globe. There are people saying you have 0% unemployment. There are people out there who are getting jobs with little to no experience. So where is that imbalance being driven from?
Well, I think you've got a lot of appeal in this market. obviously. And what ends up happening is you're getting more applications for a lot of these jobs that are coming through. Now, I know internal recruiters at different companies, they might have 25, 30 jobs that they're working at any given time. And whichever manager is really breathing down their neck the most, that's probably going to priority 1 or 2. But a lot of the cybersecurity jobs, these are scary roles for a lot of these recruiters to be able to vet through. That's not their cup of tea, or that's not something they've worked. And so those jobs a lot of times get pushed down. And so you've got 100 applications just sitting there for maybe even a month, 2 months. Some of these roles are open. There's these roles, like, we get them all the time. They're like, hey, this role's been open for 6 months. I actually have a client that he called me about a job probably 3 months ago, and he's explaining the job, and I said, hold up, time out. Is this the one we worked last July, like 15 months ago? He was like, sort of. Yeah, I said, this looks the exact same job. And I thought, I promise you, man, the applications are not the problem. That's not the problem. It's not the candidates. That's not the problem. Like, there's a dysfunction. But to go to the HR thing, I don't want to say, I can't really answer that accurately because I haven't worked with every client,
Right.
But I'll say that I've seen some good improvements with some of our clients, and I've seen some almost like you're trying to sabotage the situation. Like, we have a partner that if she's listening randomly and she remembers what she said, then she might get upset. But she's grilling our candidates and saying, why would I select you over the 10 candidates I have in my pipeline right now? Why should I talk to you when you've had 2 jobs in the last year? Asking questions that are just very off-putting when your job is literally just to make sure they got the benefits. Just make sure they got the benefits and they understand the process. We've got it. We can take it. Make sure you help us set up that interview. Don't come in there trying to sabotage it. There's zero reason for that. And there's just a lot of, I think, there's a power struggle between external recruiters and internal recruiters sometimes, where it has to be cohesive. You've got to be on the same page. And it all comes down to, what does this manager need? How can we get this manager off your back, internal recruiter? But
I think we've seen that, right? Because there's a, I mean, it's an ego thing, right? Internal recruiters are worried that you're going to come in and show them up and prove that their jobs are irrelevant, when in fact you're trying to be a partner. It really does sound like the problem, when people are experiencing, I hear the things that you're saying, and it sounds very, very familiar with what I'm hearing people say when they come in, Neil, I've done this, and I've done this. If you were, I know you can't say this about the entire industry, but from your perspective, you would attribute a lot of the disconnect and a lot of the imbalance to continue to be a lack of communication between internal HR, internal recruiting, and some form of external entity, whether it's an external recruiter, whether it's external candidates, whatever the case is. That internal HR and that internal recruiting is still being a gatekeeper in some way, shape, or fashion.
Oh yeah, and there's a lot of layers to it too. I mean, there could be a partnership in a way where you're getting roles, you're working the roles, and the HR is like totally aware that you're working that roles, but they don't give you the updates that they've got a candidate internally in the final interview. So we'll have our team working our tails off for 2 weeks. We'll get an absolutely amazing candidate. We'll keep that person excited, keep that person warm for a week. We're waiting for feedback, waiting for an update or something like that, and they're like, hey, by the way, we just filled this role. And what you have there, the problem I think there is you now have a lack of trust and buy-in in the future from the recruiting team, the external team that's like, well, shoot, next time I get a job with this client, how excited am I going to be able to work for 2 to 3 weeks knowing that they have just kept that close to the vest? I'm glad they filled the role. We want to see our clients fill these roles. We want to see them get filled. Of course, we want to fill them. But what I care more about is, are we spending our time in the right places? And are we on the same level in terms of trust and communication? And when you can get to a partnership where you really are on that same wavelength and everybody just wants to see this manager win, almost forget you exist for a minute until they need you and go, hey, that's right. You really showed up last time. Would love some help. You come in, you crush it, you get out, somebody gets a job. The people that don't get the jobs, you still give them a great experience and you're very up to the date, with their information. But it's, man, there's like landmines. I've called it that forever. There's just landmines in this process everywhere that people seem to like to step on. And I don't get it.
So it's real easy for us to sit down and complain about, the HR
Sure
and the
is.
recruiting things.
It's what old guys do.
It is. It's definitely what old guys do. Before I ask this question for Michael G, I do want to ask you, let's flip the script just here a little bit. obviously your candidates, I imagine, get incredibly frustrated because of the ambiguity in the process, because of all the things that you mentioned that go wrong in that imbalance. If you could give maybe one or two pieces of advice to somebody who's listening, who's going through this exact same thing, what would be your advice to them in terms of how to deal with that ambiguity in the process?
Awesome question. I love that. And I'll kind of counter what you just said in that the other candidates are getting very frustrated. It is my job to make sure that I am keeping them not only up to date with the one thing that we might get frustrated about, but okay, this is not really going anywhere. Let's start a new game plan for what else I can help you out with. What else have you applied to recently? Just send me the links to those jobs and let me look at them. I'm going to run a quick LinkedIn search. Oh, I know the director at that company. And honestly, I think he owes me a favor. I'm going to call it in right now, and I'm going to just write him and just say, hey, this person, I really like this person. But that takes me how long? 30 seconds, 2 minutes. So you have to have, I think, a game plan ready to be their recruiter, not their recruiter on this one job.
Right.
And once you've got that mentality, you don't get like this crushing feeling when that one role is not working out, and you can actually keep that person engaged. And honestly, you give them that update as soon as possible and you say, hey, we might get some good news on this one in a week, but let's just kind of take an egg out of the basket and put it in another basket and get excited about something else, even if it's just getting some networking or some connections. So I think, the bit of advice I would have to candidates, yes, recruiters, we deserve our bad rep many times, but I think come into the relationship, A, giving us the benefit of the doubt, and B, don't be afraid to tell us your expectations for how to be the best partner to you. And if they fail on it, don't take it personally. You find another recruiter,
I think that's great advice. I've always found it invaluable to develop that partnership with a recruiter for that very reason. To your point about networking, this is why we harp so hard on networking, on here on the stream, is because hey, I'd like to get this job. And it's like, okay, let me see who I know over there in that area. Michael G's got a question, and this is we see this one all the time, right? We see unrealistic job expectations when it comes to particular entry-level positions. And so Michael G says, can you explain the 5+ years experience for entry-level positions? Can you kind of talk through some of these unrealistic job postings that come out, especially in the entry-level job area?
Yeah, it is obviously a common gripe and a confusing one at that. And I think that defining entry level has been really tough for the industry to do as well, because you got a crowd of people that will say, underlined, bolded in, italicized, cybersecurity is not an entry level profession. That's what a lot of people will say. But then you've got a lot of people that are like, no, I'll take the sandwich guy across the thing. He's got a GitHub. He's in the top 2% on Try Hack Me. Good show, by the way, with with Ben. Yeah, that was cool. It was cool to hear him. I think they're probably coming up on like a million subscribers at some point, anytime the next couple of months. But there are managers out there that are going to take that entry level, true entry level, and actually will put the time in. And so I think that is a situation where I don't want to put it on HR again, but if HR is really talking to the managers and saying, hey, if I see a profile like this one, I saw this one and I thought about calling this guy, but didn't think he met the qualifications that we spelled out. What are your thoughts on that? And that manager might be like, oh, I would talk to that guy in a heartbeat. But those questions aren't necessarily being asked. But so there's a big miscommunication.
But how does that candidate who knows that he could do that job or she could do that job, how do they get by that internal squabble between HR and the hiring manager? Because they're on the outside, right? Yeah. Like, how do they break into that and say, hey, look at me, I'm better than you are seeing on a piece of paper?
I think one way that you can maybe try to do some detective work and figure that out is actually hop on LinkedIn and look at some profiles of people that work in like whatever the type of job is that you are doing, right? And see if you can find some kind of common theme. For example, like, hey, this manager seems to have hired 3 people that have their EJPT, or something like that. Right? Like that's something that's at least a clue that can help. In terms of getting past that first wave, that's the real problem. I actually think that's where having like an external recruiter, like, a third party like ourselves, someone that can go tell your story and go, this resume is absolutely not going to pass through your HR barriers. I need you to like, and sometimes it's worked. I've definitely done this for many people to where I've gotten zero response. I've gotten ignored. No one reads my message. I don't care. I'll still send it. But I've had many get back and be like, thank you. I've got a ton of resumes in there. I don't even want to look at them. I'll look at this guy, So I think that that's a who, like talk to people that you can find at least one person. It's not a guarantee. It's probably a low percentage probability that that's actually going to do anything for you, but it's not 0%, and that's better than honestly what we're dealing with a lot of times. I mean, I did this, Neil, end of 2019. Mm-hmm. I copied and pasted a lot of different content from absolute stud resumes. Mm-hmm. And I created a name. It was like Jimmy Splachini or something like that. I had every cert in the world. And I applied to one of our clients for the job that I was working to see what kind of response I would get. I got no response.
Got nothing whatsoever.
And so I thought, great, we're going to fill this job. Like, I know we're going to fill this job, But that was a perfect example for me to realize, like, okay, the eyes are not on the ball. So you can do everything right. You can do everything I'm telling you right now. You can go network and connect with the people, and you can get all the certs that you're supposed to do, and that can still go nowhere. So I don't know if it's a cop-out, but I don't really have an answer that I feel like is a super great, dependable answer.
How do you – go ahead, Neil.
No. Go ahead, Jeff.
I was just going to like piggybacking on something you were talking about. Like I got this great candidate and I, kind of put them in front of the hiring manager because like you have to look at this person. How does that person who is talking with you get you to say, oh, I will take your resume because of our conversation and put it in front of the hiring manager? What are you looking at when you say, oh, that person's rock solid? Because it's not all about credentials at that point or what the resume looks like. It's about your conversation, I'm guessing.
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, it's totally, would I bet my reputation on this person not making me look bad? As simple as that. Like, do I think this person could probably be a high upside person? And am I willing to put my name on it and feel good that if this person gets a conversation, okay, I found out they're getting a conversation. They're going to call me. We're going to connect. We're going to do a little prep. I'm not going to overwhelm them with information, but I'm going to get them psyched as I can without getting them. But, we're going to treat that like it's a real job. It's a real thing that it's like it's my client. Most of the time, if I'm reaching out on behalf of other people, I tell them straight up, I need you to go apply to a job right now on their site. I don't even care what the job is, but apply to something relevant. But when I reach out, if you don't know me, and then Joe Hudson reaches out and goes, hey, I got this great candidate, this great resume. One thought that might come across your brain is this going to cost me $20,000? Am I going to have to pay this random stranger recruiter to do it? As long as I have that person apply online and I reach out, I say, hey, and I'll do this oftentimes at like midnight just to show them I'm taking time out of my day. I'm up late at night to go to bat for this person who's already in your database. There's nothing I can get out of it. That might work. It definitely has worked sometimes. 85% of the times they'll look at my profile, they won't respond. But 15% of the time it'll help. And it might help 1 or 2, 3 people a year get a job that way, which is a win. I'll take it. But they need a person to do that for them,
I want to put pressure on you because I want to put you in the hot seat because, and this shouldn't come as a shocker to you because you and I have talked about this offline, numerous times over the last 6 months. You mentioned about, the imbalance and the lack of partnership that exists between external recruiters and internal recruiters in HR. And even when it comes specifically to this question about the 5 years experience, where recruiting agencies, may not necessarily be you, but I think the recruiting industry as a whole, gets a job description from a hiring manager, from an internal HR person, and they simply take that job description and go out to their network and try to find it word for word. And I've criticized you because you're a representative in the recruiting industry, because you don't take that job description and take a look at it and say, well, I don't think your expectations are realistic, or you really only list OSCP for an entry-level job, knowing that EJPT at all, not to make it an I&E thing, but knowing that there are other certifications that exist out there that could also qualify for an entry-level job role as well. Why is it that recruiters are not taking more ownership over being that responsible party when they get that job description from HR and hiring managers?
Well, I think that there's a lot of people that don't really care about the content that they recruit on. I mean, you ever seen Christmas Story? You know, the 80s Christmas Story with Ralphie? I remember when they
Jeff was probably in his 30s or 40s when that show came out.
That was my college roommate's neighbor's house.
Shit.
That filmed it. Listen, when
Are you being serious?
I'm serious.
You being serious? Oh wow, that's pretty cool. I'm glad I brought it up. I don't remember where I was going actually. Like I got I'm a big Christmas
It was
guy.
a
If you
flipping
actually look
nightmare
over
because
my
for
office,
like
I've
8
got-
months they were just like all these camera trucks all over the place. It was like we couldn't go anywhere.
so
We
random.
totally lost
what are
Joe.
The odds of that? What are the odds of that? Well, I'm like, people send me messages in July like, hey, how many days are left till Christmas? Because they know if you look over my office right there's a Christmas tree right over there next to my desk all year round. But in
357, by the way.
But like yeah, you're probably right. The Christmas where they go and they're trying to get a tree, and the dad likes to haggle with the sales guy, right? But the sales guy, he doesn't care at all. He's just like, I just need to sell a damn tree.
Right.
He's like, this ain't no tree. This is a tree. Come look at this tree. He's like, no, like he's like, you're right. This is not a good tree. But like recruiters a lot of times don't really care. They don't care who gets this job. They don't care at all. Something that gave me the biggest peace of mind in the world was almost adopting that mentality, but because I know I'm going to get the right person the job. So that way, if I get an offer for somebody, we did this a couple months ago, got a guy an offer, but in between the time I presented him to the time that we got the offer, he was a ghost, an absolute MIA ghost, couldn't get a response. And I went to the manager and HR and I said, hey, pull the offer. Like, this is not worth it. Don't do this. And that was such an easy decision. When you live and die by the deal, or you live and die by like filling it out, then you just kind of take your eye off the ball. But when you're invested in the growth and the long-term partnership, you get a job description and you go, this doesn't jive with what we filled the last time. Is it what's changed? But I think that it took me several years to get to the point that I would actually combat, a conversation or ask a challenging question or be like, this doesn't make sense. And then, if I see it on a job description, I know it's wrong. I just take it out and I'll add, we've written our own job descriptions more times than I can count where it looks nothing like what we got.
So I know that it's real easy to say, okay, well, everybody go to Joe and to Hunt and to Hunt Source for the ideal epitome of what a recruiter should act like. All these things that you're talking about, what a recruiter should do. You've got folks out there who they see a job posting on LinkedIn or Indeed, they apply to it, and it may be to a recruiting agency, it may be direct to a hiring manager, whatever the case is. They're not used to that mentality of like, well, maybe I should be a little bit more proactive, and I should go out there and I should talk to Hunt Source, or I should talk to Hamlin Williams, or I should talk to, Red Sky or something like that, and try to develop a relationship before I see the job posting. Is that a beneficial strategy for a lot of folks when it comes to taking control of their cybersecurity careers?
Yeah, absolutely. I tell people this all the time, like, hey, I'll work my
That was like
tail
the
off
biggest
for you.
lay down question right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but
Yes.
imagine like I tell people like, hey, where do you want to apply? Like, great, that's where you want to work. Have you looked up who you know that works there? Because I promise you, as hard as I work, who you know there is probably more valuable than me if it's a good connection. Like, go lean on that. I've even said like, no, I'm not even submitting your resume. You need to go call your teammate because I'm gonna look like a jackass knowing that I'm submitting the manager's good friend, like I'm not doing that. But I really think that what we're talking about too, Neil, is not a natural thing for a lot of people to do. I saw this great talk, whatever that guy's name is, Simon something, he's a sharp modern day kind of philosopher guy. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know who
He
you're
had a
talking about.
great dialogue the other day, and he was talking about introverts versus extroverts. And an introvert might have 5 coins, but every time they've got to engage outwardly, they're losing a coin, whereas an extroverted person can show up with no money and leave with feeling rich as hell because they had all these interactions. And I just was like, yeah, that's a great point, because I give advice. Hey, go network, go connect with people. That's one of the scariest things to do in the world for a lot of people. And so it kind of I have to go back to like my teaching days where I would have all my students and, my teammates would they would make these lessons and they would teach their lessons. I'm like, you've got 7 kids with ADHD, you've got 4 kids with Asperger's, and you've got 2 kids that have missed the last month. You're going to teach one lesson to all of them. That's not exactly. So learning how each other learns, learning how your candidate likes to work with a recruiter, Some candidates, they don't want to hear from me every week. They want to hear from me once a month. They only want to hear from me when I have a job. That's it. Or they only want to hear from me when they reach out to me first. That comes. So I think it takes patience and understanding, like, you can't just give a one size fits all advice. I do think mathematically, the more you network, the more that you engage with the security community and get out there, you can't lower your odds unless you are
top
just
three
really
things
bad.
that you would do to just say, okay, network, which is this nebulous word for a lot of people, especially people who are in college and just about to enter the job market, right? What would be the top three things you say network is defined as? What do you do?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. There's a lot of different networks. I mean, there could be a lot of people that Discord could be your way to go. Hiding behind a code name and engaging with people, and you can do it from around the world. But I've got like this local pen tester group that I'm part of, and they only talk to each other and refer to each other by their Discord name. But these guys, I swear, they're all like this now, and they didn't know each other before, to the point that they've decided to meet up in person. And some of them, the most introverted people probably in the group, have stepped up and given 1 hour long presentations as practice because they now feel comfortable with this audience. Their whole life has changed, starting with Discord. That might be the way that they network. It could be with like-minded people that are going through the same struggles that you are, that make you feel a little bit better at the end of the day about your struggles. And that keeps you going tomorrow. And you can share that. That could be a way that you network. You might be, the head of all your sports teams and the most confident person in the room. Why not write the CEO? Give it a shot. What do you got to lose, right? Like go out there. But like, certain people are going to have different ways that they want to feel comfortable networking. I think being true to that, but don't be afraid to try something different. I'll tell you this, 5 years ago, definitely never thought I'd be sitting on a live stream talking about cybersecurity with two old guys. There's just not something I really
we were not that old 5 years ago.
I wasn't.
He was.
He was.
Well, I was still tying my shoes back then. Now, man, I just leave them tied now. And the thing is, like, I took a shot coming here. I had a baby. This was a startup. This was not something that was on my radar. I took a shot on doing something that was out of my comfort zone, and my whole life is just different. Like, I'm a different human being now.
But what's the difference?
That can happen easily.
Real quick though, what's the difference between taking the shot, right? Because I talk about this pretty frequently as well, right? Is people who are like, oh, how do I know if I'm ready for a job? And I'm like, you need to put yourself out there. You need to apply for it. That's different, I think, than kind of this point about networking, right? Or would you think that those are the same concepts? Because when I think networking, it's a strategic, diligent effort to build relationships with folks who are in a position or a company or a way of life that you're interested in being part of. And what you're talking about is no fear in terms of going out and getting what it is that you want.
Oh, it could be total fear. You could be succumbed to fear most of the time. That's the take the shot. The shot is the first step. If I'm reaching out to the CEO, it's not to just get a response. I got to put some serious thought into that. I've got to have a strategy. But you're right, networking. Like, I was talking to a couple of people like this week and last week where they were kind of asking me, like, what do you get out of this conversation? And I'm like, hey man, you absolutely could be the CISO somewhere in 10 years. Mm-hmm. I'm not going anywhere, but I really like the way that you have grinded it. I like your GitHub. I like the fact that you're very humble and that you talked about your grandfather on your LinkedIn page. I like that. You put yourself out there in a way that resonates with me. I want to be part of your network,
right?
And that's my choice. But I see that as a valuable relationship. And so candidates, you got to know your why. I think you got to know, why am I even reaching out to these people? Why am I putting myself in this group? Why am I making myself available in a way that I'm uncomfortable? And then pay attention to, are you enjoying it? Pay attention to your results. Don't keep doing the same thing over and over again if it's not working. Pay attention to the variables and try something new. Talk to other people that you're comfortable with and say, what is working for you guys? Anything? Share these ideas. I mean, there's just a million things. I hope that answered your question, but I agree with you. It's a strategic long-term thing.
It does, but let's talk a little bit about reality here when it comes to networking versus all the other things that folks are trying to do in this community or other communities when it comes to trying to land their job, whether it's they're probably mostly folks who are within their first 1 to 5 years, but it could also apply to folks who are later on. You've got networking, you've got self-education, you've got reading the news, you've got, staying abreast with new technologies, that are coming out. Yeah. What is the right balance in your mind when you look at all the jobs that you've hired for, when you look at the candidates that are out there? Is there a well-rounded candidate that is spending a certain amount of time either networking, studying for certifications, staying abreast on the latest trends and topics? Is there a definition of well-rounded in that sense?
There's a lot of different definitions of well-rounded, I think, because one company's ideal candidate is very different from another company's ideal candidate. You might be the perfect candidate for the company that you haven't applied to yet, and you're the wrong candidate. Like, there are managers that they're like, I got to have an OSCP. I got to have it. And you're now grading yourself lower because you don't have that OSCP. Meanwhile, that manager that's over there in this company you haven't even heard of would take you in a second if you could just get a conversation. So I think that we live in a world these days where we have this idea. I mean, you get on social media, you got an idea of a perfect marriage and a perfect attire and your perfect pictures in your life. Same goes with a job. So where somebody literally during the day could find 5 jobs that they think are fantastic fits, they apply to them, got their resume updated, their LinkedIn updated, but they didn't get a job that day and they feel like they failed, And so I think knowing your own expectations for what do you consider your success? What do you consider to be successful? Because you and I, Neil, we could sit here all day and give people advice on certifications to go get. Sometimes I question the advice I give lately, the last year, because I've been given a lot of great advice in my mind that I've seen fail many times, and it's not working. It is, in my opinion, though, like, hey, here's some great things that you can do. And I know these are great things, but it's not necessarily working. And so I start to question my own advice. So when you talk about a well-rounded candidate, I want someone who is in for the grind, that understands that security is probably not always fun. That if you want to go be a SOC analyst, I promise you're going to probably be a little brain fried at the end of the day, and you're aware of this, and that you don't get rocked on your first 6 months and just think that that's a crappy company, And so I think that having a reality check with people, talking to people that have actually done this, and not just setting these expectations, but then just saying, hey, I'm not going to go get a cloud cert because people are telling me to do it. I'm going to get this cloud cert because I want to get that cloud cert. And I'll be a little bit more patient with my job search if I have to, but I need to find somebody that appreciates me for what I'm doing. That's easy for me to say. I'm not paying their bills.
Right. Right. I think but I mean, I would agree with you 100%, right? Especially that example you got where you're like, this hiring manager wants an OSCP, but this hiring manager that you haven't even heard of over here would kill to have you in your current state that you are right now. I've talked about that frequently, about not letting the industry define you.
Yep.
You mentioned mistakes that you've made or advice that you've given this year that you've seen not work. Do you want to share some of that?
Well, I just think that, when, for example, certifications, it's impossible I'm not going to sit up here and tell people don't go get certifications. I mean, we want leaders in security to be cost effective, but we also want them to have $30,000 in certifications. Doesn't make sense. We want people to go get $7,000 certifications. Like, the fact that you put a SANS cert on a job description, not knocking SANS. I love a lot of what they do. It's not realistic for most people. And that means that the industry, in my opinion, I'm part of that industry. I am a storyteller. I am a facilitator. We have to take some control over the narrative of what is acceptable. HR doesn't care. They don't know the difference. Whatever came on that job description is on there. And honestly, I personally feel this way, that directors and leaders that are writing these or putting out a lot of the requirements, many of them are not in the know of what's even going on. They don't even know what e-learn security is. Some of them don't. Like, they're not even aware of some of the certs, that are out there. And so the people that are really in it have to be able to take the control and communicate the narrative, shift job descriptions inch by inch, make this a more feasible field to break into. You can't throw $7,000 certs on all your job descriptions. You can't I read a site last night on the CISSP. Again, and this is a 2022 site, and it literally says you must have 5 years of experience to have a CISSP. We all know this. And then below it says the entry level salary for a CISSP is $60,000.
Whoa.
It says it's like this far apart.
Wow.
Like, the person that wrote this is a very official site, and that is something that if you Google what do I need to do to get into security? That's probably one of the top links that you're going to click on. And if you're just getting started and you don't know, you're thinking, well, I got to go get that CSSP, but and I'm going to be able to get that. And then you get a wake up call.
It's a non-starter, right?
Right. Like, so there's just like these pockets of misdirection and whatnot that when we talk about my advice, I'm giving people advice that I think is a good collection of me listening to people like yourself, like Jerry, reading. I read quite a bit. I mean, I keep up to date with as much as I can, like OWASP. I'm trying to learn, like, hey, did OWASP update their top 10 this year? Oh, shoot, number 5 moved to number 1. I need to know that stuff so that I can grill people accordingly. But when it comes to like giving advice on certs, I'm talking to people every week that they've done it. They've gone through the certs. They've done the training. They're on TryHackMe. They literally don't even remember their kids' names half the time because they're so focused on getting a job and they're just not getting anywhere. And that makes me feel personally like, am I giving the right advice? And so I don't think it's bad advice. It's
disheartening is what it is.
Yeah. It's very frustrating, and it's only getting worse. Like there's probably been 10,000 new people that want to get a job in cyber since we started this podcast.
I want to put a fine point on that for those who are listening. Like for all of you who are frustrated because you're doing the work, you're putting in the work, you're following the advice of a lot of us out there that are giving it to you. This is words coming directly from Joe that it's even frustrating on the recruiting side that he knows that you all are capable of doing the job, and it's an imperfect imbalance in the industry that's preventing it. It's not you as a candidate, it is the industry that is failing you as a whole. So, I want to pivot on you a little bit. I want to take a different approach to the entry level thing. It's a question that's come up quite frequently in my streams in the last probably month or two that I want to kind of talk about with you. And it's this idea of remote internships. Is that something that you're seeing folks hiring for, as remote internships?
A little bit more. Actually read an update this morning about a local Charlotte company that has got a kind of an associate level internship type of program. I don't know how successful it's going to be. I'm not going to lie. I think that one of the biggest problems is that many of these internships, the profiles that are probably going to get those are fresh out of college. They've got their cybersecurity degree and they've got their whatever, that looks really good on a resume. They've had their projects that they did and they can spell out what they did with the SIM tool and everything like that. And they're going to get the calls back. Meanwhile, the person that's got a home lab and doesn't really know how to write a resume and didn't have a resume written for them by a college, program,
right?
Much more qualified, but probably not going to get the shot. And then so what you've got is people that literally have never done anything for themselves in life, and not to fault them in their age. It's not their fault that they're 21 and haven't had that responsibility yet. But I can tell you for sure, I would have totally bombed a remote internship from the ages of 22 to like yesterday. It's something that it takes. Thank
goodness we're to today. Thank goodness we're now here. You have arrived. Welcome, Joe.
It's tough.
Welcome.
It's so tough, though. It's so darn tough. But like,
no, I know what you're saying.
Also, they're not programmed to know how to even train or teach a lot of these people that way. So it's not like it's just the candidate isn't capable. I remember watching this teacher.
What are they going to do with it? Right.
What are you going to do? Like, how are you going to be able to monitor them, and how do you know how to appropriately monitor them so that you still have their engagement and their buy-in, and you've got them feeling like you're not crowding over their shoulder? We know that there's some sensitive people out there, and we also know there's some managers that are overbearing. But I was saying my son's teacher last year, great teacher, really struggled to figure out how to teach kids virtually. I mean, these kids were not even showing up half the time, and she was like, well, what do I do? That's going to happen where a manager's like, hey, are you paying attention to me right now? Your camera's off. And you start to question it. It's not going to be a consistent thing, I don't think, for every company. Some companies are going to nail it, but we need way more of those, I think, just to give people a shot.
I think it's I definitely think it's, I agree with you. I think it's hard, right? And I think you hit the nail on the head, right? It's an internship. You're supposed to be training. You're supposed to be spending a ton of time training the candidates. You're supposed to be spending a ton of time getting them used to the business acumen, getting them used to doing whatever it is, the technical stuff they need to do. That's hard to do remote. That's a lot harder to do remote than it is in person because of the amount of time that it takes to take everything that's inside of here and impart it into somebody else.
Yeah, we have our whole staff in the office this week, and it's been great, to be able to just turn around in your wheelie chair and be like, hey, I want to talk to you about something.
Right.
I might not take that moment to call someone. I might write it down and be like, I'll call him later, talk to him about it later. And then I might not get to it.
Right.
And there's just these very unique moments that you get being in person that are irreplaceable. We've got a great new hire, Robert, that's going to be joining us pretty soon, but we're going to be training him remotely. And I can tell you, this guy was like rapid firing typing the whole time I was talking to him. I know he's banging out emails, and he's a firecracker. I think he's going to be totally fine. He's got his act together. But someone like who's never really done a job, I don't know. I mean, I'd give them the benefit of the doubt.
Deer in headlights, and deer in headlights remote it's a problem, right? I have 1,500 questions before I can get started. If that's the personality, remote is going to be a pain in the neck for them, no matter what.
That's a good point. A lot of them probably do, Jeff. They're just loaded with questions, and they don't know the person that they're working with yet. They don't know how to read them. They can't read their body language necessarily. They've got distractions in the background, or it's going to be an uphill battle to see those. I think we don't have a choice. It's either, what do we do? Just not try it because we think it's going to fail? I think that's a dumb approach. You got to try it. At least be a company that's trying to elevate and give people a shot. And hey, you might have 5, 6 super affordable resources that know your environment pretty darn well by the time there's a mass hiring need. And those people are well equipped, and they've gone through and they've figured it out. And now they're actually better suited for the role than someone fresh off the street with 5 years of experience, because they're ramped up, and so some of them are going to make it and they'll do fine.
So let me ask you a hard question on internships from a recruiting perspective. This is gonna light up chat, I think, when we bring this one up. Should interns be paid or not paid?
Man, I kind of feel like, I think that they should be paid. I think that they should be paid. And I do think it doesn't need to be a ridiculous amount of money, but you can't just be happy you got your shot. I think that if you have a bad day, which you're going to, and you're also not getting paid, and meanwhile your friends that just got out of school are like, bro, I just got this recruiting job. I'm getting paid $60,000, and like, you should come. All you got to do is just talk to people and get them jobs, man. Just come do that. And they're like, oh man, I'm like staring at thousands of lines of code all day for $0, and my boss yelled at me through his computer.
You have just made your job sound way easier than it actually is, Joe.
Oh no,
Dude, all you gotta do is talk to people. It's just like they pay you money. It's awesome.
Just get them jobs, man.
It is not that easy.
Job and they pay you money. And actually, it can be that easy if you have certain setups. But I personally feel like if you just lead out not paying interns, I think that's a de-incentivization to get people in. Because we can't just assume that people that are going for internships are fresh out of college and they have no, bills to pay and things. Like, I know people that they're the breadwinners. They've got to provide for their family, and they definitely would take an unpaid internship. Like, they would take it in a heartbeat because they need to get that experience. So I think you can have some unpaid ones, but that unpaid internship better be no longer than a month. You're working a month tops. Okay, hey, you did a great job. You proved yourself. We're immediately going to give you a $5,000 sign-on to come on, and you graduated to part 2 of the internship. The next 6 months, you're going to make $45,000 tops, whatever, an average salary, of whatever. And then after that 6 months or 5 months, you can make it 6 total. You got a shot to get a job. We actually have a set plan for that. Hell yeah, you got it.
It's a perfect trajectory, though. Like, people would buy into that, I think, all day long if they knew. If I just had to join for the first month, and if I pass that, then I get a paid internship, which isn't my end goal. But if I pass that, then my end goal is absolutely going to happen. That's a no-brainer. People, I think, would do that all day long. The pure unpaid internship totally devalues what it is. And quite frankly, the company's not going to put the resources in to train the person accordingly because it's free. What's the value to that?
It's free. What's the point? Yeah, that's a great point.
So,
And I think you have
Neil,
like a
my
separate
answer
person,
is
right?
paid. In case you were wondering,
Oh, I knew what your stance on it was. Why do you? I know it's contentious. Why do you think there's so much contention around paid or unpaid, internships? I mean, unpaid internships have been a staple in large companies for years. Like I think about my days at Big Fours, going into some of the Fortune 100 companies. It was like you mentioned paying an intern, and you'd get flogged out of the conference room for it. Why is it not a no brainer in organizations that internships need to be paid?
You asking me?
Either one of you. It's purely speculative, so I don't
because
know.
they can. That's my answer.
Yeah.
Because they always got away with it.
Yeah, it's kind of the way of the. It's just the. You're right. Like that's just the way it's been.
You're just so used to it.
Yeah, but you read an article that's like, okay, we've got this great unpaid internship thing, but they also just spent like $400 million, $500 million to buy a product company. And it's like, wait a minute, you don't have money to pay us to do this work. That's going to create a cultural shift. You want buy-in, man. You want those people to want to work there and not be looking for other jobs. I want 2 feet in the door. I want your eyes on the screen. I don't want you checking your Indeed account
all
at lunch
in.
break.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want you.
No, my son's college. Their vocation department has basically said no unpaid internships. You get a paid internship, and they will fight the battle. In fact, they will call the company in some situations to say this is not acceptable. So we're gonna set them up with a different paid internship unless you can pony up. And here's the 17 reasons why. And a lot of it is buy-in. Absolutely. To your point, they want them all in. The only way to get them all in and the company all in is to pay them. So
how do you? I guess this. It sounds great to sit here and pontificate that you should not take an internship that is not a paid internship, or at least has a roadmap towards a paid or full-time job. But we get kind of back to that, either that breadwinner of the family or, that person who's desperately trying to get into cybersecurity, and they almost feel like that, I have to do this or I'm going to lose my shot getting into cybersecurity. Yeah. And this also gets to the whole, to your point about sometimes it's hard to get into cybersecurity because you've sent out 1,000 resumes and you're not getting a response. Sometimes it's easier for other folks than not. When you look at that conversation in light of that, what advice would you give to folks that says, do you take an unpaid internship without a roadmap? If you're desperately trying to get your foot into cybersecurity, do you vehemently fight against it? Like, what's your advice there?
Oh, I think read the room, read your own situation, but I'm never going to tell somebody not to take an opportunity that they think is a great opportunity. I mean, I can tell you this, when I used to, when I was a backup dancer for Britney Spears, I had an audition, and if I got the gig, it was an unpaid gig.
Right.
Now that's obviously not true, but my point is like, there are an internship. If you think about it this way, Neil, like an internship is an opportunity to prove yourself to maybe get a job. Mm-hmm. That is an audition. Most auditions are not paid. Mm-hmm. Most of the time that you go for Battle of the Bands, you're not getting paid money just to audition. You are investing your time in practicing and working for the shot to prove yourself, and you're banking on yourself to come through. An internship that is unpaid can be an incredible opportunity. So I'll never tell somebody not to take it. I know plenty of people that have and are in unpaid internships. They got jobs, they're going to get jobs. So I'm not going to tell anybody not to take it. I think that you should ask, is there an opportunity to get paid? Or, hey, if you guys aren't going to pay me, is there some sort of training fund that you offer full-time employees that I can take advantage of while I'm interning and go try to pursue a certification so that if I don't get a job here, at least I'm more marketable and I get something out of this? What's in it for me? You do need to ask that question. Don't put yourself on the back burner, but also don't think too high and mighty that you're like shorting yourself just because you take an unpaid internship. If you really love this stuff and this is fun for you, that shouldn't be beating you up mentally too bad anyways.
Well, I think that's a valid point. All right, I'm gonna pivot on you again because I like keeping you on your toes. I want to go back to the remote work thing. I think it was pretty easy when we were in the heat of COVID, and maybe for the 6 months after COVID started to ease up a little bit, that we all kind of were like, yay, we're going to stay remote forever. And I think now we're probably a year into that mentality that feels like, okay, this feels like we might be remote forever. When you're looking at candidates, when you're looking at job descriptions, when you're looking at HR and recruiting, how realistic is it for folks to continue to expect that they will be remote forever? Or even in the short term, what do you think the short term answer is when it comes to looking for jobs?
Oh, I think every job that is out there in security, there is going to be a version of that job 100% remote somewhere forever. Like I think that every job will have an opportunity to be remote forever, but not with every company. One thing that's changed things quite a bit is the ambiguity of going back on site and people not knowing. They're hearing whispers. Okay, the company's going back on site, the hybrid model, I'm not quite sure. They start to look. Then you've also got this extra layer, which nobody really wants to talk about. I don't even know if we're allowed to talk about it on here, but I'm going to throw it out there. But vaccination mandates.
Oh,
People, there's a lot of people that don't know what the policies are going to be, and they're hearing that they are going to have to get it if they don't want to get it. Or you've got some people that are like, well, we're going back on site, but I don't want to be around people that aren't vaccinated. So you've got a million opinions and a lot of ambiguity about it. And it's a very, very gray area topic. Like no one really seems to understand truly what's going on from company to company. But I get notes. I get a dozen notes a week guaranteed that are like, hey, Joe, I know you don't know me. Do you have any clients that aren't requiring this? Or do you know the policy for this? And so it's something that is a whole new factor that I did not see coming at the end of 2021.
Are you starting to add that to your job requests?
No, absolutely not. In fact, I had a great chat with my boss earlier today and said, in no way, shape, or form are we going to communicate someone's status to a client. If they have a policy, they need to expect that any candidate that we have talked to has met their demands, has met their policy. But we're not communicating whether or not they are. And if they ask, we're not going to answer that. That's not our business to communicate that. In fact, I'm pretty sure we're going against HIPAA by sending that information.
I don't think you're allowed.
No. And so the thing is, but we've had clients and I've definitely heard of other candidates who have said, well, I went into this interview and they asked me point blank in the interview, even if it was HR or whatever, like, are you vaccinated? And I'm like, holy moly. I didn't realize that there's companies taking that sort of forward abrupt approach, and it's making people kind of uncomfortable, but it's also making people like, I know people that are vaccinated and they're like, I'm not working for any company that even asks me, like they're like, that's my business. And so that is a whole new layer. That's not just cyber. That is everybody.
You're seeing that across
obviously.
the board.
Oh, that's if a company has a mandate, they got people that work there that aren't in security, but security people know that they're in high demand.
Yeah.
Security people can be much more like if you've got 5-6 years of experience and you're like, I'm a senior engineer, I'm making $100 and something thousand a year and I got these certs. If I don't like this policy, I'm out. I'm just going to go get another one. So we're going to see a lot of attrition, I think, in 2022, not necessarily because of policy, but because of ambiguity on policy. And people going, well, I'm not going to stick around and be left holding the bag. I'm going to get a jump on this. I don't need, the ambiguity.
I had never thought about the vaccine mandate thing till you brought it up. That's a very interesting. I can see now how that's a crazy space to play in and
sucks,
not
man.
have it. Yeah.
One more layer of
It sucks
complexity.
having to talk. It really sucks as recruiters having to talk, like even try to figure out a way to bring it up and talk about it. It is our job, because what you really don't want to do is not go down the path. So figuring out a way to word it and not ask. I'm not going to ask anybody.
Right.
I'll just be like, hey, I just want to let you know this company has a policy of X or Y, whether it's on-site or vaccination or whatever. And if you would like me to look at some other clients, just let me know. And it's kind of very subtle. But I have a lot of people, they'll come out and they'll just kind of tell me. And I'm like, cool, totally appreciate you sharing that. I'm going to cross off these 2 clients. Let's look here. So it can be very effective. And I have seen resumes that come through that say vaccinated. I've seen LinkedIn profiles that say vaccinated, fully vaccinated and stuff, because they want people to know like, hey, I can work for your company. So it's a touchy subject. It's tough.
So back to the remote work thing. That's I've heard some horror stories about people saying that posting a job description that's remote, but then they get into the interview and they're like, oh, well, it's remote until we decide to be fully back in the office, and then everybody's going to be mandated to be back in the office. Are you seeing a ton of that bait and switch happening with job postings out there right now?
Yes, but I don't think it's necessarily a bait and switch. I think we don't know our policy in 2 months, 3 months. We're going to work with what we've got right now. And then when they get in the interviews, they're told we're probably coming back on site. We don't necessarily know, or we've committed to a hybrid model. And honestly, one of the problems is they're interviewing candidates that applied 2 months ago, and the policy's changed in that long time, in that period. But oh my gosh, I've been telling candidates, you need to get it in your contract that you are remote. Like, have that written in your contract, because that whole, hey, we've changed our policy, we will move you, or you need to come into the office. But otherwise, like, it's up to you. And then they're out of the having to pay a severance fee.
Sure.
They don't have to worry about any of that stuff. They're covered. They're like, hey, no, you quit. You're the one that quit. So get that in your contract 100%. And if they're not willing to put that in your contract, ask them why. And just say, well, it sounds to me like you guys are not committing to the remote. If you really think that, like, you need to trust your gut. Every job that we take is a leap of faith, and it's built on trust first and foremost. And if you've got that seed that you really are like, I don't like the way this is going, it's up to you, but you may want to just pause on that.
I think that's awesome. I think that's awesome advice, is to get that put into your employee agreement, because that's I call it a bait and switch, because I do think that's probably cynical, Neil, speaking on that one. But
it's only called bait and switch when it goes the wrong direction.
It's a good point.
That's
no, it's good. It's a good point.
It is a good point. It is a good point.
Otherwise, they're not switching. It's just a bait.
It's just a bait. It's just
a bait.
Just catfishing at that point in time.
Baits are fine. Bait and switch, not fine.
So before I get to this question from Devnal Zen, Joe, last time you were on the show, you gave away 3 mentorship packages from HuntSource. You'd agreed to give another round of those away on tonight's stream. I don't think we settled on the number, so I'm going to put you on the spot here in a second and ask you to tell me how many we're giving away. But can you talk a little bit about what you did for some folks last time? You don't have to tell names, but just kind of talk about your experience with those mentorships and kind of talk about why you're interested in doing it again.
Oh, I would rather not talk about what I did for them. I'll talk about what they did for me. Marty and Palmy, these guys are both international. They were on the last show that we did, and I hooked up with these 2 guys. The third one did not ever respond, and I was like, well, I tried. But Marty and Palmy, both of these guys tried to give away their reward. And the reward was, I think it was $300 of, that you can put towards literally any training that you want. And both of them, they were like adamant, like, I know people that need this more than me. And I can't even tell you, like, when I was in a tough spot personally in my life last year. I lost one of my very best friends right around the time we were doing our show. And I was just kind of down, like, on whatever. And both of these guys just, like, individually brought me back up. And I realized, like, man, I freaking love being part of this community. Like, and I'm talking to someone in the UK, and I know that Marty, for example, is not like, living the high life that he, like he's got dreams of, but he takes care of his family. He works his tail off. He's asking questions. He's studying. He's networking. I see him complimenting people on LinkedIn. How did I get hooked up with such a great person? And then Palmy comes in and it makes me feel like I'm a horrible person just by talking. He's like the nicest guy in the world, and, but part of the package was really for me to say, hey, I'm going to sync up with you. And it's not just giving you $300. It's like, let's have a good chat and be able to talk through your journey. And I'm going to be part of that journey in whatever way you need. Anytime you reach out to me, I'll do my best to get back to you. Marty, he'll ping me on LinkedIn. I'll be crap, man. I try not to get on LinkedIn Messenger because I'll get sucked in, but these guys have been just such, like, invigorating people for me in my career, and reminders of this is why I love doing this. And so I don't know if I did anything for them, to be honest, Neil. Like, they were awesome, and it was a real treat to be able to do it. So yeah, we're absolutely we're gonna give away another 3 for that, and it's something that the random winners, they get $300 towards any training. You can use it anytime you want. You can wait a year, you can wait 2 years. And whatever you need, and we'll connect. I'll help you with your resume. I'll help you update your resume. I'll help you with interview preps. I'm just going to be like someone in your back pocket whenever you need it, if you think I'm good, So
Awesome. So you heard that right here, folks. We're gonna pick 3 winners. This is a great time to remind you to make sure you are in Discord. Make sure you do have your Discord and your YouTube linked. There is a command for that in Discord. We will be verifying that you do have your Discord and your YouTube linked for the winners. Jack will start that giveaway at some point in time when you could do 5.
Just got a text from my boss. He said, "Tell Joe 5." So
tell Joe 5. We're doing 5. We're picking
5.
5 winners on this one, Jack. So 5 lucky folks are going to be. Thank you very much to Hunt Source. Make sure, again, this is why we ask you guys from a social perspective. Make sure you at Joe Hudson. Make sure you at Hunt Source. Show a lot of respect for them. Really trying to support you all in your career growth that's out there. So I'll let Jack run that giveaway whenever he's ready. But we're going to pick 5 winners for that one. Question from Devnil Zen, Joe. What's the best way to respond to a recruiter that reaches out about a position that they should have easily seen you were not qualified for?
Yeah, if it's the first time that they've done it, I never send blasts. In fact, I actually don't know how to send a blast on LinkedIn. I'm pretty sure it's easy, but I actually don't know how to send.
Don't learn.
Don't learn. No.
I told someone earlier today they were complaining about it. That they were getting just bombarded with garbage, and I said, hey, just put your middle initial in the first name box. So it's your name is Neil B or whatever, right? Like, hey, Neil B. If you get a message that says, hey, Neil B., you probably just got spammed. And it might still be a good message. I told the guy, I was like, hey, crappy car salesmen sell great cars sometimes. They could have a great job. So don't just not read it. But at least you know the starting point. Okay, I'm one of probably 50 candidates this guy or woman, reached out to. This role is not really a match. They might read the rest of the note, though. Was it a good note and they just missed the tech? I get messages all the time about, I got one yesterday. It was a great note asking me if I was interested in the CPA training. And I didn't write back as a jerk. I was like, hey, I just want to let you know, if you're an auditor, you probably should pay a little better attention to this. But, a little joke, a little banter. I don't think be a pompous jerk because you're going to burn a bridge immediately. And that you never know if that recruiter is going to go into their system and say, this guy's a prick. Don't work with this person. You could actually get blacklisted from a whole company for the rest of the time that company is in existence, even if that recruiter is fired by the time lunch is there. So don't be a pompous jerk back. You could really shoot yourself in the foot in a way that you're not even thinking. But if you are already aware that most recruiters don't know what they're doing, what can you do to help that recruiter get better?
Yeah.
Hey, I just want to send you my resume. Here's my resume. This is what I'm looking for. If you happen to have anything like that, I would love it. That recruiter could be working 2 jobs. It could be their first week on the job. They're just trying to figure out. They turn to their account manager and say, hey, this guy sent me his resume. He's looking for $100,000. He's got this SSCP or something like that, or whatever. And they're like, hey, we've got a security analyst role right now. Can I see the resume? Don't burn a bridge and don't think that, but also at the same time, I know I'm guilty. I've definitely sent some notes where I've just been like, okay, I'm going to rip this guy up, and it feels good sometimes, but the
entire blacklisting thing, that's new. I had never heard that before, that you could actually get blacklisted by an entire I got
a bunch of do not uses in my account. I've got plenty of do not uses.
Wow.
This guy said, I don't need to give you any information. It's in my resume. I'm like, well, how do I know it's your resume? Hey, why are you calling? They start cussing you out. And I'm like, all right, you just cussed me out. We've been talking for 3 seconds. Do not use. I got a lot of candidates out here that are itching and scratching to be a nice guy to me.
Wow. I hope everybody heard that, is that you can get blacklisted by recruiters. Joe, what are the top 3 things? What are the top 3 things that a candidate can do, willingly or not willingly, who knows, to get blacklisted by a recruiter?
Well, obviously, cuss me out, talk about my wife or something like that. I'm sorry, you're out of here.
Yeah.
The obvious bad person thing.
Yeah.
I think that if you lie once, I'm probably not going to personally work with you. I'm not going to put do not use in the thing. Sometimes people are even advised to lie on their resume just to get the call. Mm-hmm. We hear that advice sometimes, like, hey, you can't get the job, just fudge it, get the call, and then explain it to them. So I have a hard time, overcoming that first one. It can absolutely lead, but one and done for a lot of people though too. If you play games, in the sense that you're trying to use an offer to get something, and you're clearly not valuing my part in this role and the time that my team is spending in this role, and you're literally just using us as like a pawn. I will absolutely put some notes in the system that says, hey, tread very lightly, good candidate on paper, kind of not the greatest person to work with, and plays games. And just, that I've read notes from my teammates where they'll just put something like that and I'm like, I've got 6 other profiles that I'm going to read, and I'll just skip the person. So they didn't get blacklisted, but I skipped them. I might come back to them, but they just got passed. And so just be genuine, be upfront, know that the recruiter is going to make money placing you in a job. I can't do that though if I'm telling the story inaccurately, but it also is my job to uncover if I'm telling the story inaccurately. If I'm good, I should be able to figure it out.
Oh, that makes sense.
I'm going to go one step further on your behalf though. I've talked to hundreds of recruiters, right? And like this last year with the mass exodus of employees, it just seems like there's so many openings in the sales roles that I would apply for. But I'm not looking, but it doesn't mean I don't know 15 other people that might be and really good candidates. And I think it's super important if you want to avoid a blacklist and get on the good list, help them out. Like every recruiter wants desperately to understand what you're all about, what your capabilities are, what you're looking for. But also they would love to get a couple of names of people that you can vouch for, because you're obviously not a jerk yourself because you're helping them, and people that you're giving a recommendation for, that's automatically giving them one major leg up, and that puts you in a really good light with recruiters. Now, I've just made it a practice of my own to do that as much as I can with recruiters that talk to me. I might not have anything for them, but the ones I do, I've connected probably 20 people over my career that way. Not a lot, but one or two a year, that goes a long way. And every recruiter that I've ever done that with has been so appreciative, and they'll call me, hey, I talked with you. You did a major solid for me. I just wanted to check in with you. Super good conversation. And when you talked about networking, I was a little surprised that you didn't say, get off your butt and just start networking, start the phone calls, start communicating with recruiters or employees or whatever. Just talk to people, right? But recruiters, I think, absolutely, you can make some major positive movement and not just avoid the never work with this candidate ever in the history of our company again, but make their day, make them happy, and it makes you feel good too because you just connected a couple of people that should be connected.
The thing about the last part that I'll add to that, right, is the way you handle recruiters and in terms of helping them out. I had a recruiter reach out to me one time and want to put me in for a pen testing role, but wanted to put me in as a junior pen testing role, even though I'd already been in the industry for well over 15 years. And I took the time. I messaged that recruiter back and I said, hey, look, this company looks really interesting. This job role, not so much. I don't really think that you necessarily understand what it is that you're looking at in candidates and job roles. Would you be open to having a conversation with me so that I could help you read the job description, understand the candidates that you're looking for? And then if you still think that I'm a good fit for this role, I'd love to continue to apply for this role. And that message was very, very, very well received out of the recruiting agency. And I actually ended up on a conference call with 3 folks from that recruiting agency explaining that to them. They ended up finding me a placement, ironically, once they did understand, to your point, what the job description was that they were getting versus the types of candidates that they were doing that blast out to. And so, yeah, I could definitely say that building those relationships is much, much better in the long run than just like trashing out those recruiters who, may not necessarily know that you're underqualified or overqualified.
I wish we could multiply both of you guys, to be honest, because you're just elevating the security future when you do that. You're making a recruiter better. And I totally agree with you. Most recruiters want to do great. They want to know this stuff. It's tough to know. It's taken me 5 years, and half the time I'm like, am I even right about what I'm talking about? But this is something that I care a lot about, and most recruiters really care.
Neil's not right very often, but he says it with a ton of confidence, and people just believe him.
So. No, I
am rarely wrong. I am rarely wrong.
Just ask me.
No, I used to trash on.
My brother says, "Seldom wrong, never in doubt."
Yeah, I used to trash on. I used to trash on sales guys all the time, and then I met Jeff, and I realized how fragile their egos were, and I decided to be nice to him.
Really a fragile flower.
That's right. JP says, speaking of recruiters, silly question: is a recruiter necessary? From the sounds of it, yes. Coming from a stable law enforcement career, it seems daunting to make the switch. I was not aware of these landmines and hurdles. So, is a recruiter necessary?
No. I mean, we've talked about the different types of recruiters. If you come out swinging, in your job search and you start off with 3 bad recruiters in a row, you could have a totally skewed version of like what a job search is. A recruiter is definitely not necessary. A recruiter is not necessary for hiring from a company. There are a lot of processes that could eradicate my entire profession. I feel like that if they were done better, I'm rendered useless,
Yeah.
And I really feel like recruiters can be such valuable assets, not even just getting you a job, but saying, hey, I'm going to get you prepped for that interview, or I helped you with your resume. I noticed that you had 17 pages on your resume. I cut out, this amount of time. I know, but I do it very often. And I say very often, I'll say 3, 4, 5 times a month, right? Where I'll get a resume from a total non-match and I'll just take 10 minutes. I update the resume. I make it a little bit better. I send it back. Honestly, if I have to admit, sometimes I get a little frustrated that I get 0 response, nothing. But then I realize, like, that's not why I did it. I didn't do it for the thank you.
Right.
But when you get like 5 or 6 in a row, you're like, why am I even doing this? Like, I don't even know these people are using these anymore. But the thing is, recruiters can be extremely valuable. He mentioned it's daunting to make a switch. It's a career change. It should be daunting. It's a very natural thing to be daunting. If you are in an overwhelming situation, getting some help is a great way to start. And a recruiter can be a great helpful person,
I think that's awesome. Like, to your point, it's daunting already to make the switch. Why go at it alone? Even if you're using a recruiter like Joe and somebody at HuntSource where you're, looking for help, getting some assistance, why go through that alone?
I'll add with JP's question here. You're changing your industry entirely. If your focus is in law enforcement and you're wanting to get into cyber, why not use a recruiter who can give you some guidance and say, yeah, I wouldn't go for that company. I know them. They're not going to be as filled with grace as this company over here, which will take the time and walk you through the transition from your current role into this new role in a much better way. That's where a recruiter really adds a lot of value, is the historical understanding.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
It's a great point. Kind of your tour guide on the journey, your Sacagawea.
What did you say?
That might become your screen name from now on.
I was going to say,
be Joe Hudson guest. It's going to be Sacagawea.
We're going to change it. We're going to change the exclamation point guest to exclamation point Sacagawea next time you're on stream.
I'll take it.
Got a question for my good friend Jax. Make sure you do go check out Jax's channel on YouTube at Outpost Gray. I love what Jax is doing. She's an amazing individual. We've had her here on stream, so go give tons of support over to Jax. She asked, what if a candidate decides not to take the original job after they receive the offer letter? Would you work with them finding a better fit?
Why they turned it down depends. But yeah, it's my job to actually listen to them the whole time and advise them and say, hey, I haven't really heard you get excited about this. And it kind of sounds like you're taking this out of like, oh, you've just got an offer. Like, I don't want that. I have a mentality, and it doesn't always work. And in fact, times it doesn't work, but I have a mentality like, I have a job. I got to fill this job. I'm going to fill this job.
Right.
But I don't want to just fill the job. I want to fill the job to where the manager isn't calling me again in 90 days and saying, hey, this person quit, or I got to fire this person. I need a replacement. Like, I don't want that. I want the right person. This happens very consistently. It's going to happen. And especially in cyber, where really good candidates are dealing with multiple offers. Like, I got candidates that are like, hey, I got to be honest. I do have some other irons in the fire. I'm like, okay, I kind of expected that. How many are we doing with 3, 2, or 8?
Right.
You know?
Which
And
is
so
how
my
I
job-
classify you as a good candidate, because you're not silly enough to only have one. Good.
100%. You know, but like, I mean, that's the thing is like, no, it is our job to be able to help people decline a job if it's not the right fit. And our job to know that and to be able to do our best to give that advice. It's very tough to see a commission check sitting right there, and you know you got it. You've worked this job for 2 months, and this candidate is a great fit. The manager loves them, and they've got an option. I had this happen a month ago. I got this girl like 30 grand more than she asked for, and a $25,000 sign-on bonus for a job that she said sounded amazing. Her prior boss came out of the woodworks. I remembered the first time I talked to her saying, I would love to go work for my prior boss, but he doesn't have anything. I remembered that. And when she told me about that, I was like, I lost. White flag. It's okay. Like, I was super rooting for her to get that.
Yeah, but
and
she
I would work with her
communicated
again
it
in a
with you,
heartbeat.
which is
100%.
huge.
Yep. That's what I'm saying. It's like, it depends on why they declined. Like, I need to know why you've declined this role, you know? And so if someone's like, well, I'm not taking anything less than 140 and I got them 135 and they're like, well, I'm not doing it. I need to know why. You know, I need to get some understanding. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to work with them. But if that candidate is proven to just be very difficult in the process of turning that down at the end, I might not work with them again. You know, it might just be something that we're not the right match. It's okay. I'm not going to be everybody's favorite recruiter.
I had heard that if you assuming any like very extraneous circumstances, if you get to the point to where you've got an offer from a company and then you turn it down sometime after you've received that offer letter, somewhere in that recruiting process there was a breakdown or a failure. There wasn't the communication of expectations. There wasn't a communication of what I needed from a salary perspective. You couldn't get to the negotiating table, you know, the right numbers that you needed to ahead of time. Would you agree or disagree with that categorization, that if you received an offer letter and then you decided after you received that offer letter that it wasn't the job that you wanted to do, does that mean that you failed leading up to that process?
No, definitely not. There's so many variables and factors. I had a guy, he's one of my favorite guys I've ever worked with, and he is such a great guy. And I had a job. I may have even told this story before, but like I worked this job for a long time, 5-6 months. Like, it was a tough search, director role. Got him an offer, and his kid jumped in his bed with him the morning that he was supposed to go to the office and just shake hands. His 2-year-old, he was like, crap. If I take this job, I'm literally done with these mornings. I can't have my 2-year-old come and get in this bed with me anymore. He had this ridiculous wake-up call that morning. Was it frustrating? Yeah, it was frustrating. You know, and I would have foregone a commission in a heartbeat just to get that job off my desk. But that was the right move, and he is a great human, and I would work with him for free any day of the week if he needs the help. And that's going to happen. This is a human thing. We got to be ready for some real human stuff happening. Oh, I got COVID. I missed the interview. Like, or I missed, you know, like our company goes, hey, you've got till tomorrow to accept this offer. And you're like, whoa. I've got other interviews I'm going. Like, that's really fast. We're talking about my career here. It's a $150,000 job and I'm supposed to be a manager and you want me to tell you tomorrow? And they're like, well, do you not really love us like that? Well, you know, we need to know. It's like, that's way too pressure. I mean, if somebody comes up to me and is like, I need this by tomorrow, and I just sort of get to know you, that's off-putting. And that can be a new factor that's not on the candidate. That's not on me. That's on the client. You know, there's all kinds of different things that come up.
We probably need to do an entire stream that talks about that whole like soup to nuts, like candidate recruiting process and how to handle each of those individuals. Because I think that
That'd be an interesting discussion.
It
like
would.
All of those different phases, the things that you have seen, like I know you're 5-6 years into this. Yeah, I mean, but every one of these things, every one of these phases has really interesting challenges, and there's good ways of dealing with them and not so good ways of dealing with them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's tough to make the right choices. It's tough to know what the right choice is too, and the right way.
Neil just wanted to make sure he could use Sacagawea on your name.
I am looking at that.
He's like looking for reasons to get you back on the stream here.
He's looking on how to spell it, I think.
Well,
thank God for Google.
I was going to say thank God for Google on that one. Google's got me covered for that. No, because like one of the things that we do get asked a lot is how to go through that negotiating process. I think it'd be good to have you back on to kind of talk through that. I think that's definitely worthwhile.
I'd like to actually get another recruiter on, as well for that, because that's something that there are a lot of different tactics from contract and perm, and getting even different industries, not just cyber. There's different tactics that are being used.
I'm gonna invite a recruiter from a different firm though, and we're gonna see if there's different opinions from different firms if we do that. Done. It's a date, 100%. Joe. It's a date, 100%. Joe. We're doing that in February. I'm gonna commit you to this in February. In February, we're doing that stream.
I want that has to be an old guy Wednesday.
That got to be an old guy Wednesday. So we're gonna do a 4-person panel on that one.
Yeah. I know we're gonna have to stretch your skills here and have you do 4 panels, but whatever.
I could do that. I think I can move me off to one side over here and stick another one over here. I think I can manage that.
Put Jeff right in the middle.
But
no, Neil would actually put me like down in the corner, like.
I like. There's Jeff down there. He's just down there hanging out.
Just a thumbnail.
Jeff's a thumbnail.
The comment box, the comment icon, the box. It's like, wait,
exactly.
Is he moving?
I think Jeff's frozen. No, he's moving. Okay,
Jeff, wave your hands if you're good.
It's just a small thing. He goes from Jeff to Jiff. He's a Jeff.
do I have to have like a minion voice too? Like, hello.
BSEC, grab that.
That's so funny.
I can't decide what's better, Jeff to Jiff or Jeff doing a minion voice, but both of those were freaking iconic. Oh God. This is how 22 is going to go. This is going to be awesome.
I've missed you, Neil.
I've missed you too, buddy. I've missed you too. Oh God, I need some wine for that one.
My face hurts actually a little bit.
I know, right?
I'm on dry January.
Oh,
I've already been made fun of multiple times for dry January, but it's 5 days in, about 16% of the way done.
Yeah. If we're gonna do an old guy Wednesday with 4 of us that are gonna be of this mentality, we might we definitely need to wait till February where it's not dry January.
That was dry January 3rd.
It counts. Yeah, I just didn't finish my sentence. Yeah.
Just one day.
No, because maybe it'll be dry January 6th.
Maybe.
Who knows? Okay, back to the questions. I'm waiting for my. So it looks like Yash Pandar, Decent, Current AI, Tai Quo Kong, and Henry won the mentorships. Make sure that you do message Carmen Mod immediately. Get your Joe. What do you need from them? Name and email address.
Yes, name and email address for sure. And connect with me on LinkedIn and send me a note as well, just in case, because
you're about to get flooded on LinkedIn. We'll collect the names and email addresses and send them over to you in an email so that you know who you're talking to.
That'll work. That'd be great. I appreciate it.
Make sure you message Carmen Mod. She'll get that information from you. Marshana Clark says, how do you conduct specific research on a company that wants to use your services? Yes, there's Google, but what else do you look for pertaining to in-depth research?
People, the 100% people that either work there or maybe recently worked there. You get on LinkedIn or whatever method. You can even post on Discord, go on Reddit, go on some forum and be like, I'm interested in learning about what it's like to work at this company. If anyone's ever been there, can you please give me some feedback? Or you reach out to someone at the company. I've applied to a job. I'm just kind of curious because I've been reading a few things about the culture or whatever online. Like, you might get some responses from people that are there right now. That's much better than some disgruntled person that was pissed off and just got fired and went on Google and ripped up the company, or whatever. I've read many varied responses or feedback about companies, one link to the next, and they're completely different. It's kind of tough to trust that. Talk to people that are there the best you can. I would do people over anything.
I've often told people I think Glassdoor is useless. Like, I think when you're researching companies, Glassdoor is horrible, dude.
I've looked up the jobs I'm working on Glassdoor, and I'm like, that's $30,000 less than what I can pay for this role.
Right.
The job that's posted, like, that's totally useless, I think.
Yeah. I think I I don't know. My personal opinion, right, is I think any of those will tell you about the company websites. I think they're totally garbage. I think you network with people, you talk to them, you see if they'll talk to you about, to your point, the culture of the company, something like that. You use your network to find out what's going on inside that company. Even I don't know if you'd recommend this. Maybe this is a little on the shadier side. I'll talk to folks inside the company. I'll be like, hey, look, is there a pay chart with pay bands out on a share drive that you can give to me so I understand what the pay bands are so I know when I'm negotiating salary?
Oh, I've done that plenty of times just to try to get data. I want to have everything I can get. Oh, I've asked for all kinds of proprietary stuff I have no business getting.
Because that stuff on Glassdoor about salaries, that's the biggest, salary.com, biggest waste of time ever when you're doing research on companies.
Yeah, especially if you don't really even know the value you want to be asking for. I mean, the conversation of compensation is so awkward still for so many people.
Yeah.
Even with recruiters like myself, that I'm incentivized to get you more money. People are still feeling like, well, I'd be willing to go to here. I'm like, hey, it's totally okay. Tell me what, in your mind, if an ideal job comes through that you know you're going to need to get to, where can I accept an offer for you no matter what? And where is really a floor that I should just let this client know early in the process, not the right fit, it's not going to work, let's not even go down that path. Let's have that conversation, but it's way, way too tough to depend on what you're reading online. Very, very, very tough.
Tom says, what is an acceptable thinking about it period if you are contemplating multiple offers?
Well, I think if the offers come in around the same time, I personally feel like a week it should be a standard sort of like, hey, we'll give you the week, because I mean, if someone's really hiring me for me and the investment in my future, you can't wait an extra 2 days for that. This job's been open for 3 months. You're not going to give me a couple extra days. I want to finish the process. And when I select you, I want it to be for the right reasons, not because I felt pressured to take that job. And now I'm like turning down offers, burning bridges with companies that I didn't even, I've still got a good thing going with. No, I think a week is kind of standard and should be a standard thing. I've definitely heard way too many stories.
I think the way you just brought that up too is a perfect response. Like, it is totally appropriate to tell the person that says, hey, I need to know by Friday. I want to make sure this is the right reason that I'm going to be joining your company. I want to be excited about it. I've got to make sure that these other things pass through. And quite frankly, it would be unfair to them to stop it at this point in the process.
Is there any reason a company legitimately has to say, no, you have to make a decision by Friday? Or is that just a company wielding its big company power? Or is there any legitimate reason for that?
Yes. Yeah. If you've got, say, a project that you sold and that project starts Monday or whatever, and you've got to have that person starting Monday, I can definitely see a finish line getting closer to where that finish line has always been that Friday. That Friday is the absolute finish line for whoever was to get an offer. So yeah, that comes in. If that doesn't exist, then no, I don't think so. Unless unless that, for example, like say you have a mass wave of hiring and you start the training on a certain date for all those people, and this person is going to need a 2-week notice or whatever, and you put that person in a position to say, well, you have a choice. Either I need to know by Friday, or you're going to have to give your company less than a 2-week notice and maybe burn a bridge there. That's up to you, but the deadline is Friday, because we have to get you in started on this date. That's the date. So there's some random situations, but other than that, no, I think it's off-putting. How many people are married right now because someone was like, well, you need to propose or I'm walking, and it's like, well, shoot, it happens a lot to where there's a lot of resentment then after that happens, and now you're working for a company where you're like, man, I wasn't even sure if I wanted to come here yet. So I'd say 95% of the time, no, there's no reason for it.
No, it makes sense. Ty says, how do you handle a recruiter who miscommunicates a role?
Well, like you said, you handled a great situation. You educated them. And then at the end of it, you guys both got something out of it. You have that choice literally every single time. You can volunteer your time and your insight, and you can respond positively. But we are recruiters. We're going to miscommunicate quite a bit. If I bring you into my office and I say, hey, I need you to do a Boolean string, and I need you to go ahead and upload everything into our database bull, blah, 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 and I need you to make sure that you're scraping the JD. I'm going to start using a bunch of terms that you're like, hold up, time out. What is a boolean? What did you say? Like, you're in my world now. You're going to miscommunicate.
Yeah.
What? Like, I'm a community, I'm supposed to communicate it, but I am going to break down certain things about cloud security, AWS services, container security, and we're going to be talking about shift left and DevSecOps. I might use shift left incorrectly. I might say that this is a managerial role, and you find out it's not. It's a senior engineer, and they just call it that. Like, there's way too many reasons that we could accidentally miscommunicate something. Doesn't mean we don't know our job or that we're not capable of getting it. So I think help the person with a quick response. And if they come back with a positive thing, engage. If they don't, you wasted 10 seconds, 30 seconds.
I think that's a key indicator right there, right? When we talk about this community, and we're huge advocates on this community for non-toxicity and being super helpful and a lot of positivity. When I see a question like this, and I also try to remind folks, extend that same thing that we do here on the stream. That doesn't stop just because a recruiter miscommunicates a role, blast you with a role that you're not qualified for. I think that like you have to have that same non-toxic partnership type of fashion. That recruiter could look. Jeff and I are a perfect example of this. I could have treated Jeff like every other salesman that I had treated salespeople before I ever started talking to Jeff. But instead, we built a relationship, and now we're really good friends. I never in a million years, when we first started talking, would have ever thought that being nice to Jeff would have resulted in having one of the best friends that I've got in the cybersecurity industry. You never know when that's going to be your biggest advocate or your best friend or the person who's going to get you the job of your dreams. And so take that same, non-toxicity that we have here in the environment, in the community, pay it forward when it comes to recruiters, sales folks, anybody else who's reaching out to you, because you never know when that's going to pay dividends to you in the future.
Yeah, and I think a lot of recruiters take pride in that too. I mean, I definitely value the opportunity and the privilege to have the chance to change someone's life. Like, that's a pretty cool thing that I get to be able to do every day. And if someone is inviting me into that part of their journey, that is like, really awesome. Like when I left teaching, I was like devastated that I had to leave teaching. I mean, that was my dream from when I was 16. I mean, I got in some really good schools and was like, I'm not going to go pay $40,000 a year to make $40,000 a year. I went to, like, I knew I wanted to do that forever. And when I left it, I thought I would never find something nearly as fulfilling. And I've placed a paraplegic in 2 jobs.
Wow.
And it's something I'm incredibly proud of, that I've gotten a chance to be that person's advocate and advocate for that guy in a way that no one knew anything. They just fell in love with him. And when they found out, they were like, I don't care. This guy's awesome. Like, to be able to do that is a privilege. And it's something that I think life is a lot more fun without toxicity. It's a choice most of the time too.
Awesome. I want to give we're going to do this question. I want to give a huge thanks to the community. I'm seeing tons of stuff in my Discord. We've got all the winners. This is the first time that we've run a giveaway in a long time that it has gone just incredibly smooth. And so I want to thank everybody from the community for adhering to the rules, messaging when they needed to very, very quickly. This was amazing. Thank you very much for being on the up and up with the giveaways today. We've got all 5 of the winners. I want to thank Joe, and I want to thank Joe's boss. I want to thank the Hunt Source team, right, for the massive giveaway. Joe, you're always a pleasure to have on the stream. Thank you and Hudson Source so much for doing this. Question from Anissa Redmond says, I've got my first annual review this month and want to ask for a stretch role, but would also take a full promotion. Any advice? I'm grateful.
I apologize. I don't know the phrase stretch role, but I'm assuming it's some sort of financial bump, maybe. I would say stretch role would be like you may stay in the same position, but you get added on some additional responsibilities to stretch. When I was doing incident response work, they gave me a stretch role of doing some GRC stuff, which was not something I was very, very strong with, and so it was taking me outside of my comfort zone. So it's that idea of getting outside your comfort zone and doing something that's outside your normal job role. Well, wouldn't a full promotion also basically be a stretch role?
It can be. I think when I think of stretch roles,
but stretch roles is oftentimes more responsibility in your own role, your existing role, whereas a promotion would be a brand new role.
Yeah.
Okay, but you're still getting new responsibility. So it really comes down to, is that promotion part of the journey that you find to be valuable? Is that part of your journey that you want? Is that going to help you? Is that like the ideal role, or is it the stepping stone to the ideal role? If that's the case, I would take that. If the stretch role itself is going to give you that, like say you're a born and bred network engineer, and you're just itching for that chance to get on the application security side, and you're going to get some experience and exposure to that, whereas otherwise you're not going to get that job. You're not going to jump from a network engineer to an application team. This role is going to give you the opportunity to where now you can go pivot your profession. Then I would say take the stretch role, because there's a lot of people that have taken promotions again and again and again to the point that they're calling me and they're like, I really wanted to go do this, but I kept being really good at this, and now I've got to take a $70K pay cut to go do what I really want to do. Whereas if they took that stretch role, that's their pivotal moment where they took the shiny thing. So I would say it's up to you whether or not you want that promotion because you were setting out for that, or if that stretch role is going to give you that critical thing you need.
Be prepared to explain exactly why you want it and exactly why they should give it to you. Like, what are you going to do for them?
Is that the importance of having good? I don't want to over trivialize the idea of having good career planning, right? But you should. One of the interview questions that I ask folks all the time, right, is what do you want to be when you grow up, right? Even senior folks that I hire into my team all the time, I ask them what they want to be when they grow up. I do that because I want to understand what they have perceived as their end goal as part of their career, so that we understand how do you go from where you are now to what your end goal is, and we set you up for success, whether it's a stretch role or a full promotion or whatever the case is. I understand how I can help you as a leader to get to that role. Is that question down here best answered by understanding whether the stretch role or the promotion, where they fit into that overall career mapping that you set for yourself?
I think mostly, but I also think that, we need to allow ourselves to be surprised by things that weren't on our radar before, like working at HuntSource and recruiting for cybersecurity. So much fun. I love this. Never was on my radar. Like never, and this was a situation that I would have never thought I would have taken. And then I actually would say I've gotten many stretch roles in my career, now that I know what this means. But like my job here has been a million stretch roles, and it's been fun. It's been fun. And there's things that I would have thought I would have thought I hated sales, for example. I don't really do sales. I kind of have like my indirect style or whatever, but like when I get to engage with a potential client and get to know somebody and actually and kind of just put the whole like fence down and be like, I just kind of want to get to know you, and if I want to work with you as a person, the company itself might be great, but like if I got to work with you all day, that's the more important thing. But like I've had so much fun doing that, I mean, Jeff, I can actually see why you've done this for as long as you have, because it can be really, really a fun, fulfilling, relationship driven thing that I think, Neil, I was probably more on your, like they're after a free
Neil absolutely hated salespeople. I mean, the sales role.
Jeff has seen firsthand.
It's been very enjoyable to watch the transformation.
Man, it sounds like you're the transformer now. That's your name.
Sales is definitely my stretch skill, right? That's when I think about like things that are
You've
not
gotten good at it. You have. I'm gonna go back. You have gone from a person.
Go back into your little GIF down in the corner.
Yeah, but no, you've gone from a person who is like, "Don't ever call me a salesperson. I won't. No, don't do it." To, well, I had to do it. I didn't like it. To, it was okay. Like that's a huge change.
Jeff, I need that X over you right now just for making that
whatever.
comment. That's.
I didn't say you love sales.
Right, exactly.
I would never say such a thing.
Joe, I think that does it for us tonight. Again, I want to give a huge shout out to you and to the HuntSource team for everything that you've done in terms of supporting cyber and security, coming on the stream, giving back to the community. The floor is yours, sir, if you want to close out the community with any comments or anything for tonight.
To you and Jeff, really appreciate the engaging conversation. I think I mentioned to you before the show that around this time every night, I just kind of feel like I want to talk to people about security and no one's interested. So this is a really good opportunity to do that. But to everybody that's out there and listening, thank you guys for listening and, share feedback. I think that that's a great way for all of us to get better, especially recruiters like myself to get better, to hear, hey, was I wrong about something in your opinion? Because most of the time I think that we have these blanket statements and individuals are going to have a different story. So feel free to share it. If you ever reach out to recruiters and they don't get back to you immediately, don't take that too personally. It can be really tough to do the job that we have to do, that we're responsible for all day, and then also give attention to people we didn't know existed this morning, and try to help. So be patient.
And for those who are wondering, you can hit !guest in chat. You can get Joe's LinkedIn. Joe has been very responsive on LinkedIn. He does very much interact with the community on LinkedIn. Joe, you don't have any problem with people reaching out to you on LinkedIn for anything?
No, absolutely not. I mean, it doesn't matter where you are in the world. In fact, I look at it as an opportunity to learn about what's going on over there. It doesn't mean I'm going to have a lot of time necessarily every day, and it might take a while to get back to you. But I'm going to read your note as soon as I can, and I'll do my best to engage.
Awesome.
But one thing of advice, don't ever write a recruiter and say, can you get me a job in security? I need a job. Like, how do I break into security? Like, you need to come with some specific questions or specific details that say, here's what I've done. I'm curious about this or this. Like, give me something specific, much higher likely to respond to you no matter where you are or what your question is. So be as specific as you can.
Awesome advice. Joe, I'm going to send you along your way to the green room. You can go ahead and bounce off, and we'll catch up on text messages tomorrow. Jeff.
Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure, dude. Always. I missed you, dude. I really did. It's super awesome to be back on camera and sharing the stage with you.
No, my son was like, oh, wow, how long has it been since you and Neil were streaming? It's like, man, I bet it's been a couple months.
Yeah.
So it was a good holiday break, but glad to be back.
What's a goal that you got for 22?
Ooh, so I want to read 12 books. Last year I had a goal of reading 10, and I just made it. Great book I'm reading right now, Never Split the Difference. Highly recommend it.
We were just talking about that on stream the other day. I love that book.
No way.
Yes,
it's
absolutely.
a great book.
It is a great book. It is a great
book.
I'm
about halfway through it, so I'm ahead of my January run rate, so that's good.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I look forward to your comments. I look forward to your comments at the end of that book. So what's another one? You got another one after that one? That's an aggressive goal. That's an aggressive goal.
Lose another 20.
Lose another 20. I'm gonna hold you to that one. Awesome. Right. Jeff,
how about you?
Me?
Yeah.
Did I tell you? Did you hear that I succumbed to realization that I was not going to meet one of my 21 goals?
December 31st. You realized that?
Yeah.
Oh, I got 3 hours.
No. I gave up on the book.
Did you?
I did. I'm pretty sure you know me well enough. You probably knew that was coming. You knew that. You probably knew that was coming.
Yeah. You stopped talking about it.
Yeah. So. I realized when I sat down to write the first chapter, I wasn't as passionate about it as I thought I was when I started the process. Mm-hmm. And you know me, I refuse to do anything that isn't, incredibly passionate to me. So I decided that I wasn't going to do something that I couldn't put myself into.
All right.
Yeah. So on 22's goals though, it's been a hot minute since I've focused on myself from an education perspective. It's been a hot minute since I took a cert. And so I'm actually eyeballing a couple of certs for me to take this year to kind of stretch those learning legs a little bit.
On stream at some point, I'll go into the conversation of like, how did you determine the gap you had, and how did you determine which cert was going to fill that gap?
Absolutely.
But we don't have to do that now.
Absolutely. We can do that. We can do that next week when we chat.
Perfect.
All right, Jeff. I'm going to send you along your way as well. It's always a pleasure. I'm going to chat with my team, and
it's been great.
We'll chat soon.
Sounds great.
Awesome, everybody. And again, listen, I want to echo what Jack said in chat. I can't even begin tell you all how appreciative I am when giveaways go smoothly. Thank you all for looking out for each other. Thank you all for being respectful of my moderator team and of our guests tonight when it comes to doing the giveaway. So thank you all very, very much for that. Thanks again to the Hunt Source team if you're still listening about, for everything that you all do as well. Super excited to be back streaming. Super excited for a lot of the content we've got coming together. Make sure you hit that exclamation point socials to pay attention to those socials. We are doing a lot more content on the social media, so do make sure that you are there as well. I've got nothing else for you. Oh yeah. Oh, actually, I do. I got one more thing. Oh my God. I forgot the big thing. I forgot the big news. I forgot the big news for those who stick around. Study Day Tuesday is coming back. Study Day Tuesday is coming back. We've locked in our content creator for Tuesdays, and you'll start to see it appear on the calendar. But one of your community members has reached out and has offered to teach a Python course every Tuesday starting on January 25th. So pay attention right here on the Cyber and Security channel. Starting on January 25th, Study Tuesdays are coming back. We're going to do a multi-week, I think it's 12 or 14 weeks worth of Python content on Study Day Tuesdays. So do look for those to go up. This is why it's incredibly important to put the notifications on the stream so that when we do put those up, you are aware of when we do do get those scheduled in there. But Doc Jade, if you see Doc Jade in Discord, if you see Doc Jade in chat, make sure that you give some props out to him for taking some time out of his day and out of his schedule to spend some time with you all on Study Day Tuesdays, starting January 25th to study some Python. So I'm super excited for that one. I'm very grateful for Doc Jade for that one, and can't wait to see Brant do that. That being said, I want to thank all the new members that we got tonight. Appreciate everybody hooking up with those membership tiers. Make sure you are taking advantage of those membership perks, specifically hanging out with us in sub chat and the like. With that being said, I appreciate you. Every single one of you who shows up on this stream, I appreciate every single one of you. And listen, whether you're on the red side or the blue side or still deciding, keep learning. And I'll see you Friday morning.